Hi, Church. Pastor Jeff here with another Trinity Check In. Stick around to the end because I want to give you a special last-minute invitation to something that might help with the rest of it. But what I want to talk about in this week's video is more about the election. Now, I know I talked a little bit about the election last week and said a few words in church on Sunday, but I don't think my thoughts were fully together yet. And I think that's true for many of us. However, I think I have something else worth saying that I want to share, and so I am, and I also want to share something that happened last night. So, a lot of people in our church are feeling high anxiety after the election, and that is totally understandable for a great many reasons, including many of the things that were said during the campaign and that have been said since. So I think the first thing that I want to say is that that's okay, and that it's okay and natural to feel anxious. That said, we also have to remember that God is bigger. Now, that was the first thing that occurred to me after the election and has ever since. One of the things that scholars are currently learning is just how much of the New Testament was not only a spiritual document, but a political document against the government of that time. And it reminds us that it's God who wins over every human happening, every human institution, every human whatever you want to say. We can always lean on God, and I'm reminded of Psalm. Oh, I should have looked it up. Is it Psalm 40? God is our refuge and strength. It's part of what Martin Luther held on to during the Great Reformation. If you know the hymn, "The Mighty Fortress is Our God," that's the psalm that on which it is based. And it reminds us that God is our refuge, a place we can hide in times of great anxiety, and also our strength to help us get through it. And I wanted all of you who are feeling anxious, including myself, to be reminded of that, as well as of the Serenity Prayer, which is useful in so many places. The Serenity Prayer was written by Reinhold Niebuhr, made famous by Alcoholics Anonymous. It's useful in pretty much everything. And it says, "God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change." Now, shall we just stop right there? To accept the things we cannot change, to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. It applies so much here and always. And as I've thought about the Serenity Prayer, I'll tell you what it made me think. You know, as I look at my own anxiety, now you have to search your own heart, but as I look at my own anxiety post-election, part of it is about the massive disruption that's likely to be coming to our government soon. And that's important. It's not something that I can speak to. I'm a pastor, not a political scientist. Perhaps there's a time when words will need to be said there, but for now, that's one of those things that I cannot change. But the other place my anxiety is coming from is fear of moral difficulties. Last time Trump was president, we saw things like family separation and horrible living conditions for undocumented, and we're already hearing from some of his picks for government that it might happen again. Now, that's not something that I can change, mind you, but it is something that I can speak up about. That's where our role is. Our job is to watch for problems of morality and to speak up about them, to be a thorn in the side, to say so, and to put whatever weight we have into moving the needle toward doing things well and doing things right and doing things in a way that does not leave harm in its wake. Now, I was thinking about this last night when we had our big Justice in Action rally. Justice in Action is a group that, oh gosh, now we're up to 20, are we even up to 30 churches now in our community came together to form this group to work on justice. Now, we don't talk about justice issues nationally. We keep it as local as we can. And we have 3 priorities. With mental health, we're looking towards creating a navigator system to help people find the resources that we need because we have them in our community. Well, we could still use more, but what we have isn't being well used, and so that would help. For affordable housing, we're working on pre-eviction mediation. It's something simple to do that would cause an outsized benefit to the affordable housing needs in our community. And then the third issue is about criminal justice reform. And what our study groups have discovered, there are pretrial diversions that are not being used. Nonviolent offenders who have done comparatively small things don't really need to be in jail. and yet we have a jail overcrowding problem. Our mayor said in her last State of the City that major crime is actually down significantly in Lincoln, and it's the little things that are crowding up the jail. And what we've discovered is that it kind of comes down to one person, our county attorney, Pat Condon. And there's more story there. Any of our members can fill you, any of our Justice in Action team members can fill you in on some of that. Now, my wife is on the board for Justice in Action. So one of the things that occurred to me is like, are we wasting our time here? I mean, if it comes down to one person, it seems to me that the only way to really fix it is to enter the political process in a way. And is that really our role? And my wife's answer is one that stuck with me, and it's one that I heard again and again at the rally we had last night, and that is that sometimes it's worth it just to be a thorn in the side. And you know what? She's absolutely right. She told a story. She's been to some of the Justice in Action national events, or the parent organization. She's been to some of the national events. One of the other organizations like ours said it took 10 years. It took 10 years of being a thorn in the side, and it finally created the pressure to break things loose and do a great deal of good in their community. Sometimes it's worth it to be a thorn in the side. And even if it never works, sometimes there are things that need to be said. There are people who need to be spoken up for. That resonated with me. Do you see where I'm going with this? You know, I don't know what's going to happen next in our country, and I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that moral difficulties like family separations and whatnot don't, and boy, do I hope they don't happen. But if they do, I'm happy to be a thorn. And I hope that you also see that as something that you can do also. And those of you who've been in my Pastor Jeff uses his doctorate class and listened to my hope research, what it is a pathway. It's a pathway, and if we have a fresh pathway of something that we can do, you know, something in that Serenity Prayer, as opposed to all the things we can't do, something that we can, that gives us hope, and I know it does for me, and I hope it does for you too. So, be a thorn in the best possible way. All right, now, my invitation. This election also reminds us that there is major change happening not only in our country, but around the world. You can look at many countries around the world and you see disruption in a similar way. There is a theory that is not about politics. It's not about world affairs. What it's about is church history, and it's a theory that has come to form how I see the massive change that's happening in the church right now. Not our church, Trinity, but the global church right now. The decline that we've seen in the Western world, the post-colonial that we see in other parts of the world. I won't go into this now. But it's a theory that's helped me to make sense of that. And the theory is not about politics and governance and all of that. But I have to admit, it does shed a little light on what's happening in our country and in our world, too. Well, here's the invitation. Tonight's Pastor Jeff uses his doctorate class. That's a funny name. I didn't realize it would be I was trying to be all self-deprecating. Didn't realize it would be such a mouthful every time I had to say it. But tonight's edition is going to be that theory. The group has gotten pretty large, and so I've arranged for us to meet in a different room. Our confirmation class is going to meet upstairs tonight, and we're going to meet in the youth room downstairs. So if you come in off the parking lot, just go straight in. Anyone is welcome. If you think hearing about this theory might be helpful to you or give you something of a framework too, then I hope you'll come. I hope we have a good discussion around it too, because I've been preparing my notes and reminding myself about it and remembering just how helpful it has been for me and my understanding of my own faith, let alone what's happening in religion all around all of us. All right. I hope you are well, church. I hope I haven't misspoke anything in a rather sensitive talk here. If I have, please forgive me, and please reply to this email and let me know, and let's talk about it further. In the meantime, I hope to see some of you tonight. I hope to see more of you on Sunday and any time coming up soon. See you soon, church.